84, but cooler at the coast. Overnight, mainly clear sky, just a few clouds around, becoming buggy. It'll be in the mid-60s. And for tomorrow, hazy, hot, and buggy, low and mid-90s. Record high temperatures possible. And on Wednesday, a mixture of sun and clouds, hot and buggy, low 90s, maybe an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. Much cooler weather comes in by late in the week. Forecast being brought to you by Needham Coin and Jewelry Buyers, located at 317 Chestnut Street in Needham. They're the most highly recommended place to sell your coins, jewelry, gold, silver, and historical items. Call 774-766-3050. That's my forecast. I'm Mark Eisenthal.
I was out working, a car out of the blue crossed the center line and crunched me. There was nothing I could do. Everybody thinks that they can do their own attorney, but you can't. There's too many legal hoops. There's too many options.
Insurance companies love taking advantage of people who try to handle their cases alone. Seriously injured? Call Konowski Bresney. We get your worth.
I'm very happy with the result. I don't think any other attorney could have done a better job.
Call Konowski Bresney at 888, the letter U, count and the number 2, or see me on the web at bresneylaw.com.
You're locked into Money Matters Radio, 1120 AM WBNW. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative James McGovern are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One of the biggest challenges in financial planning is seeing the full picture. When your investments are spread across multiple accounts, it can be difficult to know how much you actually have and whether your strategy is really working. You might be taking on more risk than you realize or missing opportunities to better align your portfolio. Bringing your accounts together can help create clarity so you can see your total assets, your true allocation, and make more informed decisions about your financial future. Our new guide is called Consolidating Investment Accounts. It walks you through how to get organized, simplify your strategy, and build a more complete financial plan. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide by visiting armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
For many hardworking families and retirees, an energy bill comes with an impossible choice. Paying the bills, putting food on your table, and keeping your family warm in winter and your home cool for the summer. But it shouldn't be that way. For more than 40 years, Citizens Energy has made one simple promise: to help households afford life's basic needs. Through Joe for Oil, we help neighbors through the coldest winter nights. Now, we're building on that same promise with Joe for Sun, a new way to save on electricity year-round. Our solar projects are already in communities across Massachusetts and New York, helping thousands of households save money. For many families, that means saving up to 50% on electricity. No installation, no equipment, and you keep your utility company. Like my dad's program before, we keep it simple, helping lower your utility bill through community solar at no cost to you. Call 1-855-JOE-FOR-SUN or visit citizensenergy.com to see if you qualify. You've trusted Citizens Energy to show up when it matters most. We're still here, ready to help.
Sponsored by Citizens Energy.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today, we're talking about the top estate planning mistakes to avoid. Todd, a lot of people create their estate plan, but there are some that don't actually transfer assets into it. Can you explain why this is such a big mistake?
Sure. I mean, I'm going to try to explain it both from a revocable and an irrevocable planning standpoint. With the revocable, if you don't put assets in there, you end up leaving them owned perhaps jointly if you're married, and designated beneficiaries and the like. But if everything goes to the spouse, when one dies, then you've completely avoided your estate plan. In other words, you've set your trust up, but you went around it by leaving everything to the spouse instead of going through it by funding the trust and cramming down the assets to shelter some from estate taxes on the first death, so there's less taxed on the second death. And ultimately, on the second death, if you don't plan, there could be a probate problem because everything would go to probate if it's in their own name. The other big reason is with an irrevocable trust, of course, not funding it also can result in estate tax problems by the same way it did with the revocable trust. But in addition to not funding them with the irrevocable, you don't even begin the 5-year waiting period to get the assets protected from the nursing home. So there's a much bigger problem not funding an irrevocable trust versus not funding a revocable trust. So make sure you fund your trust if you do your planning.
Well, luckily, Todd Lutzke and the estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have written a brand new guide that details the estate planning blunders to avoid. You can request this brand new guide by simply calling 866-848-5699, 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
It's Chuck, Mike, and Tucker here, and I hope you all had a great weekend. We've got, honestly, scale from 1 to 10, this week's like a 3 in terms of interesting news.
You think so?
It's Nvidia earnings and not much else.
Yeah.
Which brings me to our top story of this week, which is, you know, sometimes I think I can tell what kind of a weekend Tucker had by like how he builds the stack.
Yeah. I actually had a decent weekend after last friggin' week, but yeah, it was nice. It was nice, but no, I thought it was interesting.
How was your morning?
Good. No, good start to the day.
This is strange. Yeah, I would have guessed like 2 flat tires.
I have a good Monday.
At separate times.
Yeah, so far.
The stack came off as a little angry.
No.
But in any case, maybe I'm just projecting, you know, quite honestly. Top story here. Barron's piece. Nvidia earnings aren't the most important this week. These are crucial to market. So I said, oh, okay. Like, you know, sure. Like, I know you've got Walmart reporting and Home Depot. Okay. Yeah. And okay, you've got Deere reporting. Okay, well, it basically outlines those. And I got to be honest. Here's the deal. Right now, the earnings of Nvidia are the most important out of any company to the entire global stock market.
Why, Chuck?
Because the only thing that matters to the global stock market is the semiconductor trade.
And by the way, you could have said that 3 years ago, but also now one of the main things that matters for the U.S. economy, like, again, we talk about how the economy and stock market are not the same thing. They're not. But both are being driven now by artificial intelligence and the data. 3 years ago, it was the stock market only. Now it's actual GDP growth, like 80% of it coming from not semiconductors, but AI development and build-out.
Microprocessors.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm going to quote from this piece just because like I really just want to work through this slowly, methodically, and tear the argument apart one piece by one piece.
Okay.
Quote, it's not that Nvidia isn't important. Okay, good. I'm glad we acknowledge that.
Right, since they are a $5.5 trillion company.
Glad we got that out of the way. The stock's recent breakout has put the chip company back among the winners of the AI trade. Has it ever been amongst the losers of it?
Nope.
No. But even free-spending big tech companies have to reckon with the impact of inflation driving up borrowing costs.
Haven't yet. Maybe someday. Not right now.
They don't. Not, as Mike said, not right now. Now, you do have some questions, again, when you talk about free cash flow, and you might need to borrow more in order to build this stuff out. Okay, I get it, but that's not what we're talking about here. Walmart, Target, and Home Depot all report this week. Fact check. True.
Yep. So do Lowe's and TJX, by the way.
They might provide the best gauge of how consumers are feeling with the average price of gas sitting above $4.50 a barrel. Hint, they're feeling bad.
Yeah.
We know this because the surveys reflect that consumers are feeling bad.
I know you might have been getting here, but those 5 companies that we just mentioned, Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's, Target, TJX, all reporting this week, big names.
Market cap's like half of Nvidia combined. A third?
Less than a third.
Okay.
Nvidia is 3.25 times the size of those 5 combined. So, yes, tells you some interesting things about the consumer that Nvidia can't, but importance is really in question here.
So, I fundamentally disagree with most sentences in this piece, including the title. And again, it's just the way it is right now. The other piece that I'll add is every single time in the last 3.5 years that markets have tried to rally without tech leading the way, they have gotten splattened.
Yeah.
I had to make up a new word because flattened or splatted wasn't it's uncanny, quite honestly, when you look at it and what we've seen. If you just look at, and I'm going to look specifically at semiconductors over the last 3.5 years, again, since the beginning of 2023, the times when something else has tried to take the baton, mid-2024. Remember we had that rotation into Russell, we had that rotation into like other stuff, and then we had Yen-Mageddon where everyone came in on a Monday morning and the VIX for almost no reason, like the S&P had fallen a few percent and the VIX spiked to 60 and everyone's just like, guys, what the heck happened here?
Yeah, everyone suddenly became...
The market broke. Everyone became
on the carry trade.
Yes, markets broke because the market tried to broaden out and it didn't work. We then fast forward to Q1 of 2025. And yes, I know there were some, tariff discussions and this and that, but semiconductors fell. Again, semiconductors were going nowhere for around 3 or 4 months leading into any tariff announcements. Other stuff was trying to lead. S&P 500 equal weight was taking the reins. And what happened? We went splat again. Semiconductors pick back up, like things, start going well again. Okay, this is great. November. Semiconductor stocks stop going up. And lo and behold, what happens? Oh, we had some problems in Q1 of this year. Again, you can say like, oh, well, something else, this was Middle East and this was tariffs. I don't care what the proximate cause was. Ultimately, I'm saying that every single time in the last few years that something other than semiconductors has tried to lead this market, it has not worked.
I want to take this in a slightly different, but it's the same general idea here. So I'm hearing a lot of bemoaning AI and its concentration, not just in the stock market, but now in GDP growth. And listening to an interview this morning of I forget where the analyst was from, might have been J.P. Morgan, but speaking to 80% of the most recent quarter's GDP growth came from AI and that sector, and how risky it is. And don't get me wrong, like I have talked at length about the bubble potential here, how it all could come crashing down, and the method by which that takes.
Right,
but
Mike and I are not exactly AI cheerleaders here.
No, certainly not. But I also have to say, like, these are the same people who I remember hearing over and over again that the entire economy was being carried by the consumer over the last 5 years, and how long can this possibly last? And finally, we're getting a quarter where the consumer is not the sole party responsible for carrying the economy forward, And everyone acts as though our pets' heads are falling off. Like, oh, God, what now? The consumer is not driving the economy forward. They're still increasing spending, but not enough to keep the economy going. And now it's being driven by these data centers and this AI model build out. And, oh, God, how terrible that is. And I don't know, it just seems rather forgetful and disingenuous to me. Like, it doesn't seem like a real concern to me. Maybe not a real concern, but
I guess
again, if you complained about one thing driving the economy forward, and then finally we got to a place where that fell off and the economy still didn't die, it's just kind of funny to me.
You know, I've been in this business for this fall it'll be 17 years.
Okay.
And where I've gotten to, and this kind of permeates like my just general thinking now as well, is, you know, people always want to find something to worry about.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, when there's something bad actually happens, like, great, like, you can deal with it then. The times when it's not, you can just be like, hey, we'll worry about this later. And that's fine to say. It doesn't mean that you pile all of your portfolio into Nvidia. I'm not saying that, because that's fundamentally, I won't say stupid, because it would have been very smart if you had 10 years ago, but like that's fundamentally dangerous, I will say, to do those kinds of things. But there's enough times when things actually go wrong in the economy that you can just, hey, we'll deal with that when it comes up.
Yeah, we can be miserable and stressed then. We don't have to be miserable and stressed all the time worrying about
when you're
what that thing might be.
seeing good economic growth from data center construction, the simple thing to say is, it's great. It helped the U.S. economy this quarter.
Yeah.
Like if this were, instead of data centers, if we were drilling a record number of oil wells, would we be sitting here being like, man, this is really dangerous to the economy?
I'm sure somebody would. That's the point, is if we were drilling a record number of oil
wells. But not the
wells.
same people. Because
yeah,
I
do
think this is also like, look, data centers, no one likes them, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Partly because the people who run these companies, no one really likes a lot of them. And not even a lot of them. The only one that I think people generally dislike at this point is Zuck, because the rest of them, quite honestly, you look at the rest of the big tech CEOs,
most people couldn't pick them out of the lineup.
They're pretty faceless at this point.
Yeah.
You know, like Tim Cook's done. We can't even remember John's last name, who's taken over for him. It's Turnus. Thank you very much for filling me in on that last week, Mike.
It was Tucker.
Sundar Pichai, if you ask 100 Americans, who is that? They'd be like, I have no idea. Satya Nadella, same thing.
Yep.
What other companies do we have that are big? Larry Ellison. How many Americans can pick Larry Ellison out of a crowd? Elon Musk, I think a lot of people could, just because I think his name and image transcends, business.
Actually, funny question. How many people would know that Jeff Bezos isn't the CEO of Amazon?
Right, Andy Jassy, exactly. and then, by the way, you get to Broadcom, which is the 7th biggest company in the S&P 500. Mike, I'm going to be 100% honest here. I don't even know what Broadcom's CEO's name is. It's probably something. But that's about as far as I can go.
It's actually not her name. His.
It's probably something. Jensen Huang, okay, I bet 6 out of 10 Americans can tell you who that is if shown a picture.
Yeah.
So it's not even that we hate the tech CEOs at this point. I just think that a lot of people are kind of resentful about what tech has done to their life in the last 15 to 20 years. And so it just is, data centers are easy to hate. No one actually likes social media. We all go on it and we just start scowling. It's like, I gotta do this. I gotta clock in for the day.
Actually, I bought my daughter a very nice bicycle on social media yesterday.
I gotta see what the posts are today.
Schwinn?
I have no idea what brand, but she liked the color.
It's probably Guardian. I get targeted for that too.
Oh no,
for the kids' bikes.
No, it wasn't an ad. It was a
well,
marketplace purchase.
You just don't know it was.
Yeah, it was an ad.
It was an ad. It just was not paid for.
Yeah, true.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about global bond yields at multi-year highs and whether you should be scared of those.
The Financial Exchange streams every day live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and follow the markets all morning long. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. It's important to update your estate plan as changes occur in your life, or you can wind up with significant issues that may affect your future. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Potholes to Avoid. Call 866-848-5699 and get your copy today, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One of the biggest challenges in financial planning is seeing the full picture. When your investments are spread across multiple accounts, it can be difficult to know how much you actually have and whether your strategy is really working. You might be taking on more risk than you realize or missing opportunities to better align your portfolio. Bringing your accounts together can help create clarity so you can see your total assets, your true allocation, and make more informed decisions about your financial future. Our new guide is called Consolidating Investment Accounts. It walks you through how to get organized, simplify your strategy, and build a more complete financial plan. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide by visiting armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
I was 24 when I had a stroke. I was 35 when I suffered a heart attack.
I was 46.
I was 62.
It's a fact. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in women.
But we can fight against our #1 killer.
Talk to your doctor about your risk factors.
Know your family history.
Learn the warning signs and symptoms.
Together,
let's go red for women.
Visit goredforwomen.org to learn more.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Stephen Lynch are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, so if you're like me, and you wake up.
Quick pause.
Yeah.
How many people have you genuinely met in your life that are like Chuck?
Well, when you put it that way, Michael, it's been a struggle for quite a while. If you're like me, you wake up at around 2:30 every morning, and force of habit, you check what's going on in the overnight session. Maybe you spend a half hour awake looking at it, and then you go back to sleep for like 2 or 3 hours just to,
point in case. Yep.
Again, see what's going on. But so I wake up this morning and I look and I'm like, oh, like bond yields are continuing to move higher. Like this is, starting to get a little wild, blah, blah, blah. And what we have here is not something that is U.S. centric. I know that everyone likes to look at, the 10-year Treasury and be like, ascribe broader things to it like, oh, the U.S. isn't going to be able to pay its bills. That's why yields are going up. And look, I'm not saying that these things inherently are not true, but what I am saying is if you, think that the carnage in U.S. Treasuries is bad, man, I urge you to go and take a look at what's going on with Japanese ones because it is a lot worse, okay, in terms of the scale and magnitude that you're seeing there. So you got this global bond sell-off that's happening. And I think it's interesting just to untangle some of the things that can be moving it because, again, I don't like to ascribe like one thing to this. Bond yields are a function of two things, expected growth and expected inflation. If you have growth expectations that are coming down, it's generally hard for bond yields to move up, even if inflation is going to be higher, just because ultimately it's a question of trade-offs. Hey, what else can I get that's going to pay me a better rate of return? Well, if growth is coming down, not much, and so bonds have a hard time moving higher. When bonds are moving higher, it's generally a sign that growth expectations are moving up, and occasionally inflation expectations may be moving with them. Now, the nice thing is that we do have the ability to decompose this into its various components. What is actually related to inflation and what is related to growth. And we can do this because we can compare the yield and movement on regular 10-year treasuries and 5-year treasuries with treasuries indexed for inflation and say, hey, like what gives what's actually moving this?
That's what you call tips?
Tips and the break-evens on them. What does inflation need to be over period X in order for the tips to perform better than the standard treasury? And so what we have had over the course of this year is when we look at 5-year tips break-evens, they move from around 2.25% to 2.6%, so up around 0.4%. Okay, that's all well and good, Chuck. What does that actually mean? Well, if you take a look at the 10-year treasury, it opened the year at around 4.18%, and right now is at 4.593, so up around 0.4%, same as the break-even. What it's telling you is that growth expectations haven't really changed for the next 5 years. It's been inflation expectations that have been re-rating in this case. But the important piece is that growth expectations aren't worsening, and I think that's a big thing here too, because what the bond market is signaling, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, the bond market is signaling an inflationary boom period. And boom, I don't mean like, hey, everything's like going to just like surge ahead, but I mean like an inflationary growth period. And that is something that I think you do have to look at in the context of, hey, central banks, especially you talk about the Fed. The Fed was, having rate cuts priced in this year.
It's gone now.
There are very few rules when it comes to monetary policy, but I think it's an old Flemish one. It's, again, the translation is a little iffy, but it's an inflationary boom does not a good rate cut make, is the translation from the original Flemish. And I think this is the big thing is, look, if you have inflation moving up and growth staying stable, cutting rates into that is the way that you blow things up.
Yep.
And by blow things up, I mean that's how you get higher inflation expectations anchored and you encourage more growth, which, again, you already can't fill given the fact that inflation is rising. And so instead of actually trying to get, instead of actually getting more real growth out of it, you end up just getting more inflation.
Yeah. To bring this down to Main Street for a moment, the average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, according to Mortgage News Daily, now hit 6.65% on Friday of last week, and that is the highest it's been since the breakout of war, since really last time we got there was summer of last year. So, heading to Main Street here for a moment, the spring home season, for the sellers that were out there, really unlikely at this time. There's just not enough time for mortgage rates to come back down to see that surge in home sales. April home sales indicated as much, with them basically flatlined year over year. And, the idea of being able to refinance that 30-year down to something more attractive, below 6% mark, for instance, really tough to see at this point in time.
Quick break. We got Wall Street Watch next.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Some of the biggest estate planning mistakes are the ones you don't even know you're making. At Cushing & Dolan, they've seen it all. Plans that aren't complete, that only rely on a will or lack of funding of a trust. These are the kind of mistakes that can lead to probate, unnecessary taxes, or even putting your assets at risk. As your life changes, so should your estate plan. Marriage, grandkids, new assets, and even changes in tax law can impact how your plan should be structured. That's why Cushing & Dolan created a brand new guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Potholes to Avoid. It walks you through the most common and costly mistakes and how to help protect your assets, your family, and your future. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
In Massachusetts, summer starts at the farmers market. Longer days, fuller tables, and the best local food coming in fresh each week. Find just packed produce, responsibly raised meats, small batch cheeses, fresh caught seafood, and thoughtfully made goods. It's where neighborhoods come together and local food shines. Stop by your market this season and support farmers and makers across the state. Sponsored by Mass Farmers Markets. Growing farmers markets across Massachusetts. Find your local market at massfarmersmarkets.org.
In a heartbeat, you could be the difference.
Mark collapsed from cardiac arrest.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive.
It took 30 minutes of chest compressions to finally feel a pulse.
Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. But together, we can change that. Extraordinary things happen when people take action. A small step, a simple skill, a life-saving moment. HeartWalk brings communities together to create health and hope for every heartbeat. Every walker who joins HeartWalk, every dollar donated, means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Join HeartWalk today. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled Consolidating Investment Accounts. Mike, how does someone end up with just this sprawl of different accounts over time?
We've all seen it before with family members or even ourselves, but according to the BLS these days, the average person stays at a job fewer than 4 years. And so imagine you're job hopping from place to place. You might have a retirement plan through there. And all of a sudden, a decade into your career, you could have 2 or 3 different retirement plans just from, changing jobs and taking that next promotion at a new place.
It doesn't even just happen with different retirement or investment accounts. It can happen with bank accounts or insurance policies. You can end up with stuff scattered everywhere.
Well, we all know that, that aunt or that family member that is always scouring for the best CD rate or interest rate on the savings account, or, has some money with this broker and this financial services company. And all of a sudden, you can be looking at a situation where over the years, you have a dozen different places where you keep assets, and that becomes more and more complicated to ensure that your spouse is on there, that you have beneficiaries aligned properly, and that you can actually monitor these things.
Folks, our guide is titled Consolidating Investment Accounts, and there are two ways that you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by going to armstrongadvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are mixed to begin the week as investors ready for Nvidia earnings as well as retail earnings from Home Depot, Walmart, and several others. Oil prices continue to garner attention as well as tensions between the U.S. and Iran remain elevated. Right now, the Dow is up about 0.2% or 105 points. S&P 500 down about 0.2%. NASDAQ down about 0.6%. Russell 2000 is edging higher about 0.1%. 10-year Treasury yield is flat at 4.60%, and oil is mostly flat, trading right around $105 a barrel. Breaking news from the energy sector this morning after Next Era Energy agreed to buy Dominion Energy in a deal valued at about $67 billion, which would create a utility giant pending regulatory approval. Next Era stock is down by 5%, while Dominion shares are up by 10%. Meanwhile, shares in United Health down by 2%, following news over the weekend that Berkshire Hathaway sold its stake in the health insurer in Greg Abel's first quarter as CEO. Berkshire Hathaway also exited positions in Amazon, Domino's, MasterCard, Visa, and others, while adding a sizable stake in Delta and a smaller stake in Macy's. Both of those stocks, Delta and Macy's, are up by 3%. Elsewhere, Regeneron shares sinking 10% after the biotech company said that a late-stage clinical trial for a melanoma treatment failed to meet goals. And Ryanair stock climbing 6% after the European airline warned the war in the Middle East is driving up fuel costs and weighing on fares as customers delay trips. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
Piece in the Wall Street Journal. The world can't get enough U.S. energy, keeping prices high for Americans.
I don't think it's just the U.S. energy thing. They're pretty agnostic. They just want oil.
They will,
and we happen to have quite a bit of it.
They will buy it from anywhere because right now pretty much everyone is scrambling to figure out, hey, where are we going to get the supplies we need for July, August, September, October, like the back half of the year, basically.
They'll risk sanctions. They'll buy it wherever they can get it.
So the obvious question that comes up anytime you see this is, hey, like, should we be exporting our oil given, the questions that we have about where energy supplies are going over the summer? And the answer is yes, and here's why. Again, the mechanics are kind of counterintuitive, but you have to think about how this works in terms of different types of oil. The U.S. largely produces, when we talk about crude oil, we produce mainly lighter, sweeter crudes, not as dense and not as high in sulfur content. Those are great for making really light fuels. Think gasoline, to a certain extent jet fuel as well. Not as good for making heavier things like diesel and bunker fuel and stuff like that. So let's envision a world, and there's two ways that you can approach this. Three, actually. You could say, hey, I don't want the U.S. to export crude. I don't want the U.S. to export refined product. Or I don't want the U.S. to export both. Those are your three options that you have.
Sure.
If the U.S. says, hey, we're not going to export crude, we produce more light sweet crude than we need domestically. We don't produce enough of the heavier stuff that we don't. So what you have is all the producers domestically that are producing the light sweet crude, as their storage fills up, because we're not going to just refine the stuff for the sake of refining it. You got to put it somewhere. They're going to say, great, we've got to back up some wells. So after an initial period where you end up with lower domestic crude prices and lower product prices, you start to see those prices spiking, and you produce less crude now, which means, okay, you've got problems. Let's say you decide, okay, great, we're nervous about exporting refined product. So we're not going to do that because we need to keep it domestically, because we need the diesel, we need the jet fuel, and we need the gas. Okay, everyone else now needs your light sweet crude because they can't produce that refined product in the amount that they need. They need any crude they can get. You're just going to empty your crude tanks faster. Now you got crude prices through the roof, and that's going to push refined product through the roof.
I would think that most people, I know this comes up periodically, like, well, let's just stop exporting this stuff. It'll bring prices down.
And it will in the short term. Like, don't get me wrong. You'll have, like, depending on exactly how it goes, probably like a 3 to 6 week period where those prices do come down.
If the last 6 years have taught anything, in my mind, it's just how interconnected today's world is. And yes, we've talked at length about how much more energy independent the United States is, food independent. We have a lot of advantages on the global system. But if every country just starts taking the approach of, shortage coming, we're not exporting anything, then there's plenty of things that we need that we can't get. We don't have to think that long ago, right? How long ago was it that China said we are no longer sending you any rare earths or magnets? Right? Like, I mean, that was pretty damning for the U.S. economy had it continued. And it didn't because of how damning it would have been. And the president went and negotiated a deal and made sure that it continued to happen. But the last 6 years have just proven over and over again that there is not enough duplication in terms of our supply chains to be able to have a continent that operates on its own, even less so a country that operates on its own without any exports or imports.
So, again, where this is going, because we do get the data every week from the Energy Information Administration, is assuming Hormuz remains closed. And again, even if it opens at this point, like what's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 months is irreversible just because of the transit times required. You're going to get down to minimum operational inventory levels in the United States. You're probably not going to see shortages because we can pay for oil and refined product at a higher price than most other countries because of our wealth. California will probably see some sporadic shortages because they're kind of disconnected from the rest of the U.S. energy system, and they import a lot of stuff from Asia or the Middle East as a result of that. So California's going to have some issues. But for the rest of us, it's higher prices. And by the way, this is not just happening in the U.S. This is going to happen everywhere. It's just that we'll be able to say, hey, this sucks, but I can pay $6 a gallon for gas, whereas someone trying to fill up in Thailand can't afford to do that.
Yeah, the simplest math that I saw quoted was that the U.S. is currently exporting through reserves primarily 3 to 3.5 million barrels per day, in excess of what was out there before.
Above pre-war levels, yeah.
And China is consuming 5 to 5.5 million less than they were consuming prior to pre-war levels. And those are the
take that with a grain of salt. Because,
yeah, sure.
Like, no one knows the Chinese data, and they might just be burning through reserves as well, and we just don't know.
Sorry, I didn't say consuming. I meant importing.
Yes.
We have a pretty good idea of what they're importing. We don't know what they're burning.
Yes.
So, between those two, you got this 10 million barrel a day stopgap that's kind of been in place. The U.S. one looks like it's got a pretty short rope. The Chinese one, we don't really know. But the net result of that, again, isn't domestic shortages. It's higher prices and shortages elsewhere.
Yeah. And in both of these, like, again, the Chinese one, based on what we know about their storage, probably has a shelf life of, like, somewhere into Q4, but we don't know exactly where.
Yeah, I think it was estimated at 9 months, but
somewhere in the Q4 range, but we don't exactly know.
I would be willing to bet that the Chinese would be better at curbing demand than we would. But, I mean, they're a dictatorship, so you can more easily curb that demand. But, I don't know exactly how long that's going to last.
Let's see. Other things just to talk about on the energy side. As electric bills rise, some states focus on growing utility profits. This is a
every
case
single time.
Some of the data cited in here is just honestly very quite bad. So I want to read this one part of this, and I just found it to be kind of wild here. If you take a look at, I'll quote here. In March, the Energy and Policy Institute issued a report that said the profits of 110 for-profit utilities rose from just under $39 billion in 2021 to over $52 billion in 2024. Okay, so you do the math out, and you're like, that's a 33% increase in the profit. Great. I then went and I said, hey, let me see what inflation was during that time period, just because I'm curious. And sure enough, at the start of 2021, the CPI sat at a level of 262, and at the start of 2024, it was at a level of 309. So once again, I pulled out, handy-dandy calculator and said, okay, 309 divided by 262, carry the this, carry the that, and 18% inflation during that time.
Okay.
So
half of the profit growth.
More than
inflation.
half.
Yeah.
Okay. More than half the profit growth is just due to inflation. And we don't look at, this is like when people are like, well, I bought a house for $100 back in 1806. Well, yeah, sure, you made $3 a year. So, it's not really comparable. So I think there are a few things to take from this. The first is...
price of bread was a chicken.
Yeah. I actually, so one of my buddies, his dad or grandfather worked in the grocery business when it first, when supermarkets first became a thing in the 1910s and 20s.
Yeah, by the way, that was a joke by Gary Gulman. I need to credit him for a moment. I did steal it and I'll come up with it.
Oh. But we're going to have to, can we edit out the laugh then?
Yeah.
Take back laugh.
I feel that was unearned.
Well, every time somebody laughs at my jokes, I realize that I have to credit somebody.
Just have a disclaimer, just none of the show is our own material. We're all just ripping someone else off somehow. This is a Seinfeld bit. This one's Carlin, here you go. So, yes, energy, utility prices have gone up. A lot of that's just because the price of everything has gone up. Some of it is, probably, data center related or fuel, type related. But I don't know. Here's the thing. We've ended up with a really crappy utility system in the United States, specifically because we have not allowed prices to move organically, and so we don't spend the money on the system that we need to. I don't think the answer to this is going to be, hey, we're going to try to cap your profits, more, because it's. And I'm not.
What
saying
incentive do you have to reinvest in your infrastructure in that case?
This is the whole problem with how we handle utilities in the U.S. is. I understand you have to have them regulated because you can't have them go out of business, because if utilities go out of business, people die.
Yeah.
That's literally why we have them regulated. But we're also not doing a very good job of it, because you look at basically any state regulator of utility rates, and they always have political pressure to keep the rates as low as possible, which
then in turns to lack of investment, which
you don't have innovation, you don't have quality, and so this is why everyone hates their local utility.
Then in turn, half of California burns down. So these things are connected.
Yes, it's a butterfly flaps its wings in Antarctica, and LA catches on fire. Let's take a quick break. When we return, let's talk a little bit about the TSA. They are going to try screening people off-site. We'll tell you what that means, and, we'll tell you what that means after this.
Remember, you can watch the show live every day on our YouTube page. We've got market updates and breaking business news all morning long, plus a full archive of all our show's content. It's all there with the click of a button at youtube.com/The Financial Exchange Show.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One of the biggest challenges in financial planning is seeing the full picture. When your investments are spread across multiple accounts, it can be difficult to know how much you actually have and whether your strategy is really working. You might be taking on more risk than you realize or missing opportunities to better align your portfolio. Bringing your accounts together can help create clarity so you can see your total assets, your true allocation, and make more informed decisions about your financial future. Our new guide is called Consolidating Investment Accounts. It walks you through how to get organized, simplify your strategy, free and build a more complete financial plan. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide by visiting armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Long-term care costs can reach thousands of dollars per month and can put a serious strain on your savings. The experts at Cushing & Dolan often see families caught off guard by that reality. Without the right plan in place, those costs can quickly eat through a lifetime of your hard work. But here's the shocker. Many estate plans don't protect your assets from those expenses. The right strategy may involve specific types of trusts designed to help protect your assets, but timing matters. Cushing & Dolan has a brand new guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Potholes to Avoid. It breaks down some of the most common and costly mistakes people make and explains how to help protect your assets, your family, and your future. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
For many families, an energy bill can mean difficult choices, wondering when or even how it will get paid. It shouldn't be that way. For more than 40 years, Citizens Energy has helped families afford life's basic needs. First through Joe for Oil, and now through Joe for Sun. A simple way to save on electricity at no cost to you. No installation, no equipment, and you keep your utility company. We keep it simple and help you lower your utility bill. Call 1-855-JOE-FOR-SUN or visit citizensenergy.com to see if you qualify. Sponsored by Citizens Energy.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Lori Trahan are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Missed one of our shows? Catch up anytime by asking your Alexa smart speaker to play the Financial Exchange. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Piece in the Wall Street Journal, TSA experiments with off-site screening to relieve airport congestion, and this is specific to Boston Logan International Airport. And basically what they're going to be doing is there's a bus station in Framingham, Massachusetts that has been there for years that you can park and then take the bus into Logan.
Yeah, Logan Express.
They're putting a TSA screening checkpoint there so that you can get screened before you go to the airport and relieve some of the congestion at the airport. And they're basically saying, look, the big problem that you have at Logan is it's just too many people with too many cars clogging everything up. Which really tells you the problem isn't the TSA checkpoint. The problem is the fact that Logan is not actually connected to any mass transit.
Yeah, that's the problem.
There is a Logan Airport MBTA stop.
It's
you
a
have
bus.
you have to take a bus from there to Logan Airport then.
Yeah.
So this is a problem of, hey, there's no mass transit that actually connects to the airport, so we're trying to kind of like jerry-rig some kind of system to make it work. But this is not a problem that is everywhere because other airports have better mass transit connections that relieve some
plenty
of
of
this.
them do. I mean, the major hubs, L.A., New York, all of these share similar issues in terms of accessibility and time to airport, plus the cost side of going to Logan Airport between tolls and parking. I think Logan Airport parking, even in economy now, is pushing $30 a day. So, this is a pretty economical solution if you live west of Boston, and if you don't, you're stuck with the same old solution.
Long-term care costs can reach thousands of dollars per month and can put a serious strain on your savings. The experts at Cushing & Dolan often see families caught off guard by that reality. Without the right plan in place, those costs can quickly eat through a lifetime of your hard work. But here's the shocker. Many estate plans don't protect your assets from those expenses. The right strategy may involve specific types of trust designed to help protect your assets, but timing matters. Cushing & Dolan has a brand new guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Potholes to Avoid. It breaks down some of the most common and costly mistakes people make and explains how to help protect your assets, your family, and your future. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Mike, I want to take a second just to read something from Cloudflare. They are Cloudflare is best I can describe them to the average person. They provide backbone services to websites to help them operate properly and securely. And they recently gained access to the Mythos preview model from Anthropic. No, it was Cloud...
Flare.
Flare.
Oh.
Them.
So
how did you have that?
I have no idea how Tucker found that. But in any case, they put out a piece that explains like what they found. And they said, we found all kinds of bugs, but I want to put a couple of things into context here that they thought were interesting. Quote, telling the model find vulnerabilities in this repository makes it wander. Telling it something specific makes it do something much closer to what a researcher would actually do. Okay. Other things. Asking, is this code buggy and can an attacker actually reach this bug from outside the system are two different questions. So yes, you can find bugs, but you might not be able to actually exploit them. And so you can deprioritize those in favor of covering like the bigger ones faster. So the way that they're approaching this is, yes, we've been able to find a lot more, like they're acknowledging that, but we then have to build a system because we can only fix so much so quickly. Yeah. We need to figure out what actually needs to be fixed and how do we triage that, because previously we would just be, we only found so many bugs, let's fix all of these, whereas now it's, we found an order of magnitude more and we can only fix, 20% of them. How do we prioritize what we do there? So that's kind of interesting.
If I'm Anthropic, I'm not willing to wait forever on this.
For what?
To release this to the public and get paid subscribers, because God knows some other AI company is racing to do the same thing.
I would say they need at least a little time.
They do, but I'm not, in their shoes. Yeah.
Quick break here. We got hour 2 coming up.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up.
Because we have something better.
Stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit goredforwomen.org today to learn more.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today we're talking about the top estate planning mistakes to avoid. Todd, what is the downside of adding your kids to your accounts or adding their names to your real estate deeds as a joint owner? Won't this avoid probate?
You're absolutely right. It would avoid probate, but there are better ways to avoid probate than just doing something simple, right? It's not, simple isn't always better. Throwing a name on an account or adding a designated beneficiary or a joint owner on a piece of property might not be the best way to go. Here's the problem. If you name one of your children as a joint owner and you have 3 children and you put that child on just because it's convenient and they're geographically close to you, well, you could be accidentally disinheriting your other children because this property, this asset will only go to that child. That child doesn't have to give it to the other kids. So that's a problem. And if you put your name, if you add a child's name to your real estate, now you're exposing it to that child's creditors, that child's potential divorces. That's never good. And plus, you've lost control over it. If you try to sell it, you need that kid's permission, and half the money would go to that kid. Please, folks, set up a trust, fund your trust much better than just trying to do it shorthanded and just give away assets or adding names to accounts.
Todd Lutzke and the estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have written a brand new guide that details the estate planning blunders to avoid. You can request this brand new guide by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
For many hardworking families and retirees, an energy bill comes with an impossible choice. Paying the bills, putting food on your table, and keeping your family warm in winter and your home cool for the summer. But it shouldn't be that way. For more than 40 years, Citizens Energy has made one simple promise: to help households afford life's basic needs. Through Joe for Oil, we help neighbors through the coldest winter nights. Now, we're building on that same promise with Joe for Sun, a new way to save on electricity year-round. Our solar projects are already in communities across Massachusetts and New York, helping thousands of households save money. For many families, that means saving up to 50% on electricity. No installation, no equipment, and you keep your utility company. Like my dad's program before, we keep it simple, helping lower your utility bill through community solar at no cost to you. Call 1-855-JOE-FOR-SUN or visit citizensenergy.com to see if you qualify. You've trusted Citizens Energy to show up when it matters most. We're still here, ready to help.
Sponsored by Citizens Energy.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative James McGovern are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide this month titled Consolidating Investment Accounts. Mike, what are some of the problems that people run into when they have accounts scattered everywhere?
The first one is just difficult to maintain and monitor. I can't tell you how many times I've met with somebody who has a life insurance policy that still has their brother on it instead of their wife or their husband, for example. So it does become really tough to monitor those things. If you're getting to required minimum distribution age, there can be certain rules around where you take money out of specific accounts, and if you miss it, there can be tax penalties. So it just becomes complicated to administer everything.
Despite that, there are still some cases where it makes sense to maintain a number of separate accounts as opposed to consolidating.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all know cases where, hey, that new bank is going to give you a better CD rate or introductory rate, and that can be worth real money. In other cases, you know, if you have a retirement plan, there can be special benefits to keeping the money there. Maybe it is a excellent plan with really low costs. Maybe it'll allow you to avoid a required minimum distribution if you're still working into your 70s. Or there can be other strategies too, you know, having money in a retirement plan and allowing you to do what's called a backdoor Roth conversion, all sorts of things that allow you to take advantage of having accounts in specific places.
Folks, the guide is titled Consolidating Investment Accounts, and there are two ways to request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second, by going to armstrongadvisory.com. That number again is 800-393-4001, or request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Hope y'all had a great weekend. It's Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you. And markets are kind of trying to figure themselves out.
Yeah, investors have no idea where they're doing ahead of Nvidia earnings.
I mean, I got to admit, like, all of us are trying to figure ourselves out. You know, it's a constant thing of trying to, you know, improve yourself.
The market is a 17-year-old teenager that's a bit confused about itself right now.
I would disagree with that.
Oh.
I mean, the market's been on a ripper for the last 6 weeks.
So more like a
recent
21-year-old?
21-year-old at spring break is how I would describe it.
Got it.
At least for the last 6 weeks. But today, not so much, just kind of like chopping around, not really any direction to anything. S&P 500 down 17 points, 0.25%. Who cares? It was down, 1.25% on Friday. We don't get out of bed for 0.25%. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 40 points, 0.1%. NASDAQ Composite, you are seeing some movement there. Semi's pulling back, and so the NASDAQ getting hit to the tune of about 0.5%, 126 points. 10-year Treasury has been It's weird to say this despite the 10-year being up 1.4 basis points, but it's been kind of all over the place this morning. Just like very much reacting to headlines minute to minute. We've been anywhere from, let's see, the low that we got to was 456, the high was 463, so like it's a pretty decent daily range, but just kind of in the middle of it right now. We've got the dollar index off 0.21% to 99 even. Gold is down $12.50 an ounce to $45.49, and we've got crude oil, West Texas Intermediate, up 79 cents a barrel to 106.21. AAA national average for gas prices not really budging a whole lot, up 0.2 cents to 4.51 5/10. Again, we've kind of just been hanging out in this 4.50 range for the last couple weeks. I suspect, absent any change to either the positive or negative in the Strait of Hormuz, we probably hang out here for a couple more weeks before prices start rising heading into mid-year, but we'll see how things go. And, well, there is no and. That's all for the major markets. Oh, let's do actually mortgages. AAA national average, no, AAA. Mortgage News Daily national average for the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage at 6.65 right now, up 13 basis points following Friday's move in yields. So we're moving back closer to 7%. And this obviously is going to put some pressure on home prices as you head towards the conclusion of the spring housing season. Piece in the Wall Street Journal. The economy Kevin Warsh is inheriting is not the one he wanted. Well, it's a bit presumptuous to think that you just get what you want because you're the Fed chair. I mean, I know this is not Kevin's words, but like, hey, like this is, you got to deal with the world you live in, not the one that you would prefer. And I don't think any of us look at exactly how everything works. No, like, yes, this is perfect.
Yeah, well, the good news is that Kevin Warsh, like you said, is not out here acting like a 6-year-old saying
no, he's not the one saying this.
I do think what you have set up is a very interesting juxtaposition of his strategy here, because it's very clear to me that there are two interested parties that are trying to send a message to Kevin Warsh right now on the state of the economy. One is the president, and he's been sending that message to anyone that wants the job as Fed chair or is serving in the job of Fed chair for the last several years, which is he wants lower interest rates and he wants to find a way to do that. On the exact opposite side of that is the voting members of the Federal Reserve, who are also seemingly sending a message not only based on their votes, but based on their desire for messaging in the last statement from the chairman of, hey, we want higher rates and we want language removed from the statements of the Fed that the next move is likely downward. Those are two. I think both of them are trying to send a message to Kevin Warsh about their view on the state of things. And I'm not sure if he is going to try and build credibility with both, but you would think that he would want to try and build up his credibility with at least the voting members of the Federal Reserve if he's going to try and bring them along, and probably the president so he doesn't get hassled for the next 2.5 years of his career.
So, look, let's step aside. Let's step back from the Fed and just look at this in terms of our personal behavior if different things happen. Like, and I want just because I think it's instructive to talk about how changing interest rates impact the broader economy. Mike, let's say that you were looking at buying a shrimp boat, and you were like,
hold on.
Yes.
Boat, like for eating or like for fishing for shrimp?
The latter.
Okay, just making sure.
Shrimp, you don't.
I sometimes offer buy like a sushi boat, and so I'm just kind of envisioning like a giant boat at a restaurant filled worth of shrimp that I
think everybody listening on the planet knew he was talking about a ship fishing.
All of our listeners in the Gulf Coast.
Oh, you mean like a sushi boat?
We just lost Louisiana, Alabama, and the Panhandle.
Well, sorry, Panhandle.
So, thanks, Mike. In any case, you're trying to buy a shrimp boat, and you got this one that you picked out. And guys, I'll be honest, don't know what a shrimp boat costs. It's called $250,000. It's used. It's not. It's $250,000.
Got it.
And you find a 10-year loan where you're saying, okay, it's X%, and it's going to be $1,500 a month, and you're like, got to tell you, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Got it.
And then I come to you and I say, Mike, you know what? I can give you a lower interest rate. It won't be $1,500. It'll be $1,400. You go out and buy that shrimp boat, and then you got to stock it up. So you got to buy gas. You got to buy like all the supplies and everything, the nets, the whole thing.
Yep.
You are spending money that you previously wouldn't have if interest rates hadn't been cut, or if I hadn't given you the better deal.
Stokes economic activity.
Correct. And the issue that you run into is, okay, this is all well and good if the economy is relatively in balance, but at turning points where it suggests that things are moving in either direction, the economy's not necessarily there. So if you have a case where you already have too much demand for the supply of different goods out there, meaning inflation is high, and I cut interest rates, now I'm just adding demand into the thing. And so you now have to pay that much more for the net because otherwise all the shrimp boat nets are already gone. Someone's already bought them all up. On the other side of things, if the economy is weakening and you're trying to buy this boat and I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I don't know. I am not going to give you the rate you want. In fact, because I'm a little nervous, I'm not sure you're going to be able to pay me back. I need to charge you a higher rate. You do not undertake that activity. And furthermore, there are other people who might have at that price that now can't because the price has moved higher. That is reducing demand for different products, which in turn causes the sellers of those to reduce their prices, reducing inflation.
So what you're saying is that the Fed controls or attempts to control the demand side of the equation when it comes to this stuff because they can't produce more shrimp boats.
Jay Powell and now Kevin Warsh. Kevin Warsh is not sitting at the Eccles building sewing shrimp nets. He's not at the Strategic Petroleum Reserve pumping oil. Like that's not what he does. He's not good at either of those things.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what his hobbies are. Did we ever find out what Jay Powell's hobbies were?
Wasn't gardening?
Gardening, yeah. Can we get a Kevin Warsh hobby update?
Absolutely.
See if you can plug that into, some LLM.
The machine here?
See what it comes back with.
Sure, you got it.
I'm just...
horseback riding and competitive tennis. Not just recreational tennis. Competitive.
I did know about it, the competitive tennis thing. Didn't he... I think he famously went on...
That was Bill Ackman.
Warsh has expressed...
Ackman's the guy who entered himself in the tournament last year.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right. Sorry.
Warsh has expressed a deep passion for horses in the equestrian world, which he treats as an opportunity to spend time with dear friends and animals, because animals are horses.
I kind of wish
horses are animals. I mean,
I would hope that he would be a whittler. Just like you could do like whittling with Warsh, and I think it would be a great segment
because of the alliteration.
A good tennis player.
Yeah.
But in any case, look, here's the deal: is Kevin Warsh is going to now have to? He's in the seat. He's been confirmed. Like he's in at this point. We don't know exactly what to expect because the Warsh that had previously spent time at the Fed was very, very hawkish.
Meaning he was suspicious of inflation and wanted higher interest rates to combat it.
Warsh was like, I don't want quantitative easing where the Fed's buying bonds. I want a small balance sheet. I want all this stuff. And the Warsh for the last year or two has been very, very dovish. Cut rates. The economy can deal with it. There's going to be this miracle of disinflation because of AI encouraging productivity. And so I don't know which Warsh we're going to get because he's been both of these in the last 10 to 15 years. And we're going to have to see, and we're going to have to see how he responds to changes in the economy and what he does. And I think everyone should just keep an open mind. And again, we'll sit back here a year from now and be like, hey, Kevin's done great for his first year, or Kevin did okay, or man, what a disaster by Kevin.
Yeah. But I do agree. It is a challenging set of circumstances with vastly opposing priorities for two influential groups of people.
I got to tell you,
that's not fun.
I got to tell you, if I were the person running for that job and I just got it, I would wonder what I could do to leave because it's that challenging. It is not a job I would want right now. Let's take a quick break, and when we return, Let's do some trivia, and then we'll talk about the U.S. deficit after this.
Market insight, retirement strategies, real talk about Wall Street and economic trends. All live every day on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/The Financial Exchange Show. This is The Financial Exchange. Long-term care costs can reach thousands of dollars per month and can put a serious strain on your savings. The experts at Cushing & Dolan often see families caught off guard by that reality. Without the right plan in place, those costs can quickly eat through a lifetime of your hard work. But here's the shocker. Many estate plans don't protect your assets from those expenses. The right strategy may involve specific types of trusts designed to help protect your assets, but timing matters. Cushing & Dolan has a brand new guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Potholes to Avoid. It breaks down some of the most common and costly mistakes people make and explains how to help protect your assets, your family, and your future. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck from the Armstrong Advisory Group. If your financial life feels scattered, you're not alone. Over time, it's easy to end up with accounts in different places. Old retirement plans, different banks, multiple apps. It's what we call account sprawl. When you've got your money across the spectrum, things can get missed, like overlapping investments, and bringing everything into focus allows you to spend less time tracking accounts and more time making smart decisions. Our new guide is called Consolidating Investment Accounts, and it may offer strategies that can simplify your overall financial picture. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Jake Auchincloss are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
In a heartbeat, you could be the difference.
Mark collapsed from cardiac arrest.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive.
It took 30 minutes of chest compressions to finally feel a pulse.
Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. But together, we can change that. Extraordinary things happen when people take action. A small step, a simple skill, a life-saving moment. HeartWalk brings communities together to create health and hope for every heartbeat. Every walker who joins HeartWalk, every dollar donated, means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Join HeartWalk today. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Markets move fast. Follow the Financial Exchange live on X so you never miss a story. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. And on this day in 2012, Facebook held its IPO and raised a record-breaking $16 billion. The world's first IPO was held way back in 1602. So our trivia question today, Which company launched the world's first IPO? Once again, which company launched the world's first IPO? Be the third person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the third correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia, will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
We got a piece here in the New York Times. The U.S. debt is now bigger than the economy. First problem with the title, you're comparing a stock to a flow, which is just not something you should do. Saying we have, $30x trillion of debt is in no way comparable to how much GDP the U.S. produces. We compare them because they're at least, worth, discussing. But if we're being honest, like comparing a stock to a flow does have problems there. The real number that actually matters is flow to flow, which is, hey, what are the interest payments on that relative to the GDP, and how much of our budget do those interest payments take up? That's the more interesting piece. If your debt doesn't cost very much to service, hey, it's not really going to have much of an impact. If your debt servicing cost gets higher, that is more problematic, and unfortunately, interest rates are moving up at the same time the deficit is, and we've talked about this. All it usually does is get me very upset because I've noted that for the last 25, almost 30 years now, we don't have any interest in doing the things that are painful on either side of the ledger. Back in the 1980s and 90s, we did. Ronald Reagan raised taxes. Okay. George H.W. Bush raised taxes. Bill Clinton cut spending. You had presidents from each party that were willing to go against party orthodoxy to do what they had to do ultimately, and those weren't popular things. They weren't likable things, but they helped to keep things in check. Ever since about 2000-ish, pretty much what we get is, hey, let's just get all the ponies and let's not deal with any of the poop. And so we end up with a bunch of additional spending and tax cuts and an unsustainable deficit situation because we want all of the good and none of the bad. And last time I checked, you can't actually have that in real life.
That's right. We'll just tax the billionaires. That'll pay for it.
Yeah, they won't just move to New Zealand or something like that.
Yeah. This is not a partisan issue. President after president, this one included, the last one included as well, continue to run deficits as a percentage of GDP or however you want to measure it that are higher than pretty much any time that we've seen throughout history. The problem is that Americans just seem not overly concerned about it and unwilling to vote based on it. I think they're tired of the narrative that it's going to ruin the economy. It hasn't so far, and so it's just not getting the attention that it requires to actually see any sort of meaningful change, which would be painful.
Mike, I have a great question for you. Outside of World War II, before 2010, how many years did the United States run deficits north of 5% of GDP?
So how many calendar years, I guess?
Yes, since World War II, how many calendar years did we have deficits greater than 5% of GDP up until 2010? So like that 70-year period called from 1940 through 2010.
One or two?
One. 1983. Yeah. That was the only one. Here are the ones that we've done since then. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and we're on pace to do it again in 2026.
So anybody claiming, serious
the last 15 years in particular has been like the real problem.
Yeah.
Like you could make a case, hey, like some stuff in the early 2000s, was challenging, but quite honestly, when you were coming back from the tech bubble bursting, it's not surprising to see a little bit of an additional deficit widening there. And then it started to close back up in 2006 and 2007, just before the great financial crisis. We've just never been on sustainable footing since then.
No.
And it doesn't seem like anyone cares. I mean, look,
the problem is going to be that there are, more relevant and voter-facing issues that also require fiscal solving prior to the deficit likely blowing up in our faces.
Social Security,
Medicare, infrastructure, like all of these things are demanding dollars. And as I've said many times before, in my opinion, the most likely way that the next president solves the Social Security problem, because the next president will have to solve the Social Security problem.
Not necessarily.
Congress will.
Not necessarily.
No.
It might be. We don't know if Social Security is going to run out in 32, 33, or 34. Like the estimates vary from year to year. But
the next Congress,
we're getting
the
close.
next Congress will. The people getting voted in now will. And I think the most likely solution that they come up with is, screw it, we're just going to print the money off the deficit and fund it that way.
It does feel like that.
Which sure sucks.
And look, none of this matters until it does, but ultimately it's not a sustainable situation that you are in right now. And at some point, it's going to create very real problems. And those problems can be expressed in different ways through higher inflation, lower growth. Like, those are generally the ways that it ends up showing up. And no one seems to care. Like, when's the last time you heard any politician talk about Social Security? When's the last time
Crickets.
You don't hear, like, you don't.
Actually, no. The only time I hear about it is when they want to increase benefits or reduce taxes on it. Last time I heard somebody talk about Social Security was when President Trump cut the taxes on Social Security.
Let's take a quick break. When we return, we've got the trivia answer in Wall Street Watch.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Stephen Lynch are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
In Massachusetts, summer starts at the farmer's market. Longer days, fuller tables, and the best local food coming in fresh each week. Find just-packed produce, responsibly raised meats, small batch cheeses, fresh-caught seafood, and thoughtfully made goods. It's where neighborhoods come together and local food shines. Stop by your market this season and support farmers and makers across the state. Sponsored by Mass Farmers Markets. Growing farmers markets across Massachusetts. Find your local market at massfarmersmarkets.org.
Long-term care costs can reach thousands of dollars per month and can put a serious strain on your savings. The experts at Cushing & Dolan often see families caught off guard by that reality. Without the right plan in place, those costs can quickly eat through a lifetime of your hard work. But here's the shocker. Many estate plans don't protect your assets from those expenses. The right strategy may involve specific types of trusts designed to help protect your assets, but timing matters. Cushing & Dolan has a brand new guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Potholes to Avoid. It breaks down some of the most common and costly mistakes people make and explains how to help protect your assets, your family, and your future. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
For many hardworking families and retirees, an energy bill comes with an impossible choice. Paying the bills, putting food on your table, and keeping your family warm in winter and your home cool for the summer. But it shouldn't be that way. For more than 40 years, Citizens Energy has made one simple promise: to help households afford life's basic needs. Through Joe for Oil, we help neighbors through the coldest winter nights. Now, we're building on that same promise with Joe for Sun, a new way to save on electricity year-round. Our solar projects are already in communities across Massachusetts and New York, helping thousands of households save money. For many families, that means saving up to 50% on electricity. No installation, no equipment, and you keep your utility company. Like my dad's program before, we keep it simple, helping lower your utility bill through community solar at no cost to you. Call 1-855-JOE-FOR-SUN or visit citizensenergy.com to see if you qualify. You've trusted Citizens Energy to show up when it matters most. We're still here, ready to help.
Sponsored by Citizens Energy.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today we're talking about the top estate planning mistakes to avoid. Todd, what is the downside of adding your kids to your accounts or adding their names to your real estate deeds as a joint owner? Won't this avoid probate?
You're absolutely right. It would avoid probate, but there are better ways to avoid probate than just doing something simple, right? It's not, simple isn't always better. Throwing a name on an account or adding a designated beneficiary or a joint owner on a piece of property might not be the best way to go. Here's the problem. If you name one of your children as a joint owner and you have 3 children and you put that child on just because it's convenient and they're geographically close to you, well, you could be accidentally disinheriting your other children because this property, this asset will only go to that child. That child doesn't have to give it to the other kids. So that's a problem. And if you put your name, if you add a child's name to your real estate, now you're exposing it to that child's creditors, that child's potential divorces. That's never good. And plus, you've lost control over it. If you try to sell it, you need that kid's permission, and half the money would go to that kid. Please, folks, set up a trust, fund your trust much better than just trying to do it shorthanded and just give away assets or adding names to accounts.
Todd Lutzke and the estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have written a brand new guide that details the estate planning blunders to avoid. You can request this brand new guide by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Our markets are now seeing a modest sell-off by midday as investors ready for Nvidia earnings as well as retail earnings, including Home Depot, Walmart, and several others this week. Oil prices continue to garner attention as tensions between the U.S. and Iran remain elevated. Right now, the Dow is down about 0.2%. S&P 500 is down 0.4%. NASDAQ down over 0.75% or 203 points lower. Russell 2000 down 0.2%. 10-year Treasury yield is flat at 4.60%. And oil up about 1.5%, trading just below $107 a barrel. Well, some news from the energy sector this morning after NextEra Energy agreed to buy Dominion Energy in a deal valued at about $67 billion, which would create a utility giant. NextEra stock is down by 5%, while Dominion shares are up nearly 10%. Meanwhile, United Health Group shares down 2%. Following news over the weekend that Berkshire Hathaway sold its stake in the health insurer in Greg Abel's first quarter as Berkshire CEO. Berkshire Hathaway also exited positions in Amazon, Domino's, MasterCard, Visa, and others, while adding a sizable stake in Delta and a smaller stake in Macy's. Delta and Macy's are up by 1%, and Regeneron shares are sinking 10% after the biotech company said that a late-stage clinical trial for melanoma treatment failed to meet goals. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
Mike, we got a piece here. It's titled, Helping an Aging Parent with Finances Can Put You in Conflict, CFP says. How to approach it.
Can I share the most perfect example of this that I've ever personally experienced?
Yeah.
Somebody that I know was clearly slipping, and child was in the other side of the country trying to help out, became aware that the slipping parent was being talked out of a bunch of money by somebody whose spouse or partner had a criminal fraud background of stealing money from people, and was from across the country trying to say, hey, parent, I think that this is problematic, but got a lot of strong pushback from that parent. This is my friend, and I'm going to do what I want with my money. Eventually got to the point where the family had to sue the parent because they were unwilling to relinquish any control, and the state had to declare that person incompetent to manage their own money before literally the theft stopped.
Yeah.
That to me is as bad as it gets, right? If your relationship with that person gets to the point where the dementia or the actual disease is what we're talking about here gets to the point where they are unsafe to themselves, then you might actually have to take a family member to court to have a judge declare them incompetent to manage their own finances and then take over that way. And so obviously that's an extreme scenario that I've only seen once in my life. But there are many others where it can get quite ugly, and how some pre-planning really can go a long way.
And it's tough because none of us want to give up any kind of independence on these items, on any item.
Yeah.
And it's hard to look at it objectively and be like, I need someone else to handle this for me. Like, none of us are good at doing that. It's not just asking for help. It's asking for help while admitting that you're no longer qualified to do something that you used to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard. And on the other side of things, it's not even on the other side. It's, okay, so as a child of a parent, you have your own financial situation that you're trying to manage as well. And there's no doubt that when looking at some of the decisions a parent might be making, you might be saying, hey, I wouldn't do this way. And so you as a child need to divorce yourself from those things because it's also not your money yet. Like, it might get to you eventually.
Yeah.
But,
and I've seen that approach too, where hey,
you can't be telling your parent no, don't spend it on this. Like, that's not a good way to handle the situation either.
Well, I mean, other example here, I've seen plenty of kids who say, look, this is their money. I want them to spend it how they want. But in the case of an actual disease, like mental illness from dementia or Alzheimer's.
Yes,
I've seen that person run out of money, and then what position are you in?
You haven't done them any good.
Okay, now what? They're going on subsidized housing in some dangerous area, or they are moving in with me because I allowed them to mismanage their money due to a disease. It is really difficult, even with in some of these cases. By the way, there was a power of attorney in place. They had all the legal documents they needed, but
hard.
You still can't prevent somebody from making mistakes. It is a real challenge for people to address. And the only real advice that I have on it is to start the planning and the conversations early, because one theme that I've seen, at least, is that most of these situations occur when there's not a great relationship in the first place. And so if you're honestly assessing hey, this might be where I am, either with my kids or with a loved one that I'm, allegedly going to help down the road, I'd encourage you to think through it and start talking ideally with a professional. It's a combination of estate, tax, and financial advisors that can work with you to make a plan for that future. If you are considering all of this, if you're one of the kids that's trying to figure that out, or if you are the adult who's trying to make your plan for the future, and you'd like a little bit of guidance on the subject, folks at Armstrong are here to help. The number is 800-393-4001. It is among the most complicated and difficult financial planning topics to address, but I can say that I've seen it done well and poorly. The number again for the Armstrong Advisory Group, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Piece in Bloomberg titled SpaceX's mega IPO puts a price tag on the fear of missing out. And look, here's the deal. We talked about this last week, that you can look at the SpaceX IPO and be like, wow, that's pricey. The last thing that you can do, though, given Elon Musk's presence, is say, well, that means that it's immediately going to be something that I should bet against. It becomes kind of hard to, given what we've seen with him and Tesla. But I think the piece on this is, Look, if there's one business that absolutely none of us actually understand, it's space.
Space exploration.
If there's another business that 99.9% of us absolutely don't understand, it's artificial intelligence. And this is the combination of the two, because remember, XAI has been brought underneath the SpaceX umbrella at this point, and you've got, all this chatter about, orbital data centers. I have absolutely no idea to evaluate the growth trajectory for this company. Like, I can't, and I'm humble enough to admit that, because I don't know what's realistic or not. I don't understand how to, compute like the azimuth of a launch and this and that, and what orbit these satellites are. I have no idea. But what I do know is when a company becomes public and is already trading at $2 trillion, I can tell you with absolute certainty that easy money's been made. There might still be hard money to be made, like from here.
Sure.
And it's not to say that like you can't, but imagine if Tesla IPO'd this year with a market cap of $1.4 trillion instead of, when it did IPO, which was, when did Tesla actually IPO? Give me just a second. Nope, what the heck is that company?
2010.
2010. So Tesla's market cap when they IPO'd, I'm pulling it up right now just to give you the full picture, was $2 billion. The growth, like the reason why Tesla is so exciting to people is because it's gone from a $2 billion company to a $1.5 trillion company in public view. To make that equivalent, you have to go from a $2 trillion company in SpaceX to a $2 quadrillion company.
Is that what
quadrillion
is?
The next one?
Oh.
And like, so it's not to say that it will or won't, but it's a lot easier to go from 2 billion to 2 trillion than 2 trillion to 2 quadrillion.
As far as we know.
We think. Maybe the laws of physics are different in outer space. But that's all I'm saying is the reason this is exciting to people is because of what Tesla's done. But Tesla entered at a completely different point in its life cycle. Tesla entered before they had a car. Like Tesla entered before they had revenue.
Right. This is one of the biggest government contractors on the planet.
So just understand what you're buying and why you're buying it. And if you choose to, know the risks and understand, your decision. And it's about all you can do. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, it's time for Stack Roulette.
From markets to money to business and financial news, watch the Financial Exchange every day on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and keep up to date on the market news you need to know. This is the Financial Exchange.
Hi, this is Chuck from the Armstrong Advisory Group. If your financial life feels scattered, you're not alone. Over time, it's easy to end up with accounts in different places. Old retirement plans, different banks, multiple apps. It's what we call account sprawl. When you've got your money across the spectrum, things can get missed, like overlapping investments, and bringing everything into focus allows you to spend less time tracking accounts and more time making smart decisions. Our new guide is called Consolidating Investment Accounts, and it may offer strategies that can simplify your overall financial picture. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. It's important to update your estate plan as changes occur in your life, or you can wind up with significant issues that may affect your future. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Potholes to Avoid. Call 866-848-5699 and get your copy today, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
For many families, an energy bill can mean difficult choices, wondering when or even how it will get paid. It shouldn't be that way. For more than 40 years, Citizens Energy has helped families afford life's basic needs. First through Joe for Oil, and now through Joe for Sun. A simple way to save on electricity at no cost to you. No installation, no equipment, and you keep your utility company. We keep it simple and help you lower your utility bill. Call 1-855-JOE-FOR-SUN or visit citizensenergy.com to see if you qualify.
Sponsored by Citizens Energy.
It happens all over Massachusetts. In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
Text us at 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we are covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Register today for this year's DAV 5K on Saturday, November 7th at Fort Independence on Castle Island. If you're not able to participate, you can still support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. Your participation helps provide vital services like free transportation, 2 medical appointments, and safe housing for single veterans and their families. Donate today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston. We get to pay off the trivia question we asked a couple segments ago, which was, which company launched the world's first IPO? Well, that would be the Dutch East India Company. And Nick from Weston, Mass. is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Nick. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, I'd like to kick things off, if that's okay
Lovely.
with you. A FIFA official is accused of stealing funds that were recovered after another FIFA official stole them decades ago.
Good.
I got to tell you, as someone who's a huge soccer fan, as someone who's excited for the World Cup that's, starting in a few weeks, man, FIFA just can't get out of its own way with the corruption. Again, there was a scandal back in the 2010s that recovered around $150 million of bribes and kickbacks in CONMEBOL and CONCACAF, so basically the North and Central American soccer federations. And they recovered a lot of that, and then I don't know if they just like kept the money in a box or if
I'm picturing a shoebox underneath a really tall bed.
It's got that vibe because this guy Alejandro Dominguez, who is the leader of CONMEBOL, is accused, along with another senior CONMEBOL official, of receiving more than $5 million from the money recovered by the Soccer Federation after it secured the return of millions due to loss due to corruption schemes.
It's so embarrassing.
So I
guess it doesn't matter because it's FIFA and nothing's ever going to replace them.
No,
but like how shameful.
Yeah, this is one of those like. Okay, I guess it's just this cycle of corruption, literally, where the same dollars that are recovered are then taken again.
Like, what's amazing to me is that you don't have more reports of players throwing games on gambling and things like that. And maybe it's just because I'm not a soccer fan, but like the hypocrisy of being able to uphold that part of the game while just blindly taking bribes and robbing the reserves of the FIFA organization over and over again by the officials that are in charge of, on its surface, organizing soccer and preventing that type of thing is just kind of funny to me.
There have been, if you look at like European soccer, there's been all kinds of scandals, like gambling scandals. In South America, it's more that sometimes the games turn dangerous. Like you occasionally have like refs chased off the pitch with like machetes being wielded at them and stuff. Like it gets
familiar with that part.
You can run into all kinds of different stuff out there, and they're very much for what is really such a great sport. There are some very ugly sides to it that come out occasionally.
Wall Street Journal reporting AI chip mania sows seeds of its own destruction. This is something
sounds bad
that we will just continue to pound the desk on because it is not unique to the AI boom. It is likely the outcome of the AI boom, and it is repeated throughout history with almost every new technology that comes about if it gets enough attention. So what they're describing here is that right now, everybody and their mother want to build data centers, want to build new models that can compute faster and give you better answers.
Yes.
And because of that, everyone is chasing after scarce resources, including semiconductors. And therefore, there's a lot of money to be made if you can churn out that next semiconductor or build that next data center that can handle all the compute power of these things right now. A ton of money to be made based on these current prices. If history is any guide, what is likely to happen because of that is globally all sorts of companies and individuals will build all sorts of businesses to churn out new semiconductors and compute.
We just saw one go public last week.
Yep. And race to market in order to do so. And the net result of that, in all likelihood, based on history, is that we end up with more capacity than we need.
Yes.
That's what happened with the internet. That's what happened with radio. That's what happened with trains. That's what happened with
everything. But
like every technology. Yeah. A bunch of companies ultimately in those events went belly up. And the nice little silver lining of all of that, which, people lose jobs, stock market lost value. But the silver lining is that we as a society are left with some really compelling infrastructure in order to build on top of. But there's never been a build out of a new technology to the scale of what we're seeing right now that hasn't resulted in one, I don't think we've ever seen a build out like this before in history. But two, we've never seen one anywhere near this scale that has resulted in anything other than a bust and oversupply after the fact.
The timing is what matters, though. Like, we just don't know if that is 6 weeks away, 6 months, or 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, I could find any of those credible aside from 6 weeks, just because you can't build enough capacity in that time.
Yep.
Wall Street Journal, the world is awash in bourbon. That's a problem for big booze. I'm trying to understand this here. So there's too much bourbon because distilleries overexpanded during the pandemic.
Yes.
But based on my limited understanding of bourbon and whiskey, if you've produced too much, can't you just leave it in the barrel and keep aging it?
And then charge more down the road?
And then when someone's finally ready to pay you for it, you release it at that point?
Yeah, but then you still have to store it. Then you still have to. It's not exactly the same financial equation that you would get by selling it right away. To
All
market,
I know
I'd
is that
imagine.
if you age anything, it goes up in value.
Uh-huh.
You age milk, the cheese is more valuable than the milk.
Broccoli.
What?
Okay, that's
found one.
It appears that we
Shrimp.
poked a hole in that pretty
Yeah.
quickly. Let's take a quick break, and hopefully we still retain our value tomorrow.